Welcome back to the Base on Balls podcast here at the Johnny Lee Memorial League, where this week myself, John Height, alongside Bracton and Paul will be on the podcast again for a week 2 recap here at the league. First and foremost, guys, before we break down everything, how are you both doing this fine evening? Bracton, we'll start with you.
I'm doing good. 2-0 feels good. I have a better record than Hen Dog, so this is I'm in a pretty happy situation right now. So yeah.
And the rebuilding Paul, as he likes to call it, with 700 points and got to win this week. How are you doing?
We'll call it a retool. On that previous podcast, I like the word retool.
There we go.
I have a whole bunch of prospects now, but I still think I can make the playoffs for this year. I think that should be my goal. I never want to be a tanking person, but we'll see how it goes. I like my start. I like the assets I've gained in this last few days. Make no mistake, I'll still be wheeling and dealing. So I'll be looking for deals that'll improve my team now and in the future.
Love to hear it, Paul. And obviously, retools can go one of two ways. And so far, your retool has definitely been really good after a very good performance this week. So let's break down the week 2 matchups. Paul, we'll start with you. You went up against Homco, and you won convincingly 700 to 487. And this was a week where you were the leading scorer for, I think, the first, 4 or 5 days, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll start with you. Take us through, went through your mind after a very tumultuous week. I know you guys broke down, or Cody and Bracton broke down the whole situation of trading J-Ram and a couple other big deals that were going on this week. But just talk us through it.
Well, so it helps that I got 21 points out of J-Ram before I moved him. I had Christian Yelich on my team. He got moved this week. He had 30. But I think the biggest difference for me for this week was my pitching wasn't absolute garbage. That helps 275 out of my pitching staff. Since I've, started this retool, rebuild, whatever you'd like to call it, I now have 5 relief pitchers on my team that I've kind of been trying to cycle in and out. I'm using the Jake method. If a guy pitches one day, I'll put him on the bench for the next day and put another guy in. And, out of my relief pitching, I think I got something like 70-ish points just from my relief pitching, which is, it's a huge difference. As for Homco's team, he has a good squad. He's got Alec Bohm. He's got Luis Robert, Willie Adames. I've actually asked him to do a swap, a Willie Adames, Carlos Correa swap. No interest there. So, but I like where he's going. He's got a good team. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it was definitely an intriguing matchup to start the week. And, how about your relievers? Felix Bautista is such a freaking dog. It's insane. But, Bracton, what did you think about the matchup?
Well, I spoke a lot about Paul's deals on Cody and I's Paul Rebuilding podcast, and heaped a lot of praise towards Paul. I love what he's doing. I love the pieces that he's bringing in. And I remember a lot can change in a week, really. We were sitting here last week expecting this matchup to be close, and it was just about a 200-point win for Paul here, just over 200 points. So clearly on the right path here. I agree with what Paul just said. I think he's a playoff team, even still. When you're getting 68 points from your catcher during the week, that's going to be pretty hard to lose to that, or pretty hard to beat that. That's kind of crazy. But I like what Homco's doing, like we said a little bit last week too. Gleyber Torres, Matt Chapman had okay weeks, but I love Luis Robert, and everything that Homco's doing is good. I think that he needs to keep making some more moves, getting some more pitching in, and we'll see. I don't know who he's playing next week, but hopefully that'll be an interesting matchup to watch too as well.
Yeah, definitely. And all I'll say is Paul, something that I've noticed obviously the first 2 weeks and going forward is obviously you're in the retool and you're going younger in a lot of places, and by having so many of these Orioles, I feel like there's not a better team right now with some of the young talent in the league of having Adley and Mountcastle. I mean, these are dudes. Rushman put up 68, Mountcastle put 64. If you're getting that every week, I feel like you have a shot to really contend with anyone in the league going forward.
And I will say, as long as I do have Adley Rutschman, and as long as he is playing, there is no point for me to just tank, because it's going to be hard to tank with a guy that's walking 10 times in a week, a guy that's scoring 60, 70 points a week, especially out of the catching position. So as long as, because Adley is going to be the face of this retool, hopefully the Norfolk Tides come out of this on the other side, and Adley's still my face, my star. Not to hijack your time, John Hype, but that's as long as
no, this is good.
As long as Adley is on my team, and as long as he's kicking ass, I will be in it to win it every week. That is my vow to this league.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair, because when he's going to be putting up this amount of points every week, it's going to be hard for you to tank.
Exactly.
When you have, and he's making a case for it to be the best catcher in baseball, and as the way the trajectory is going, he could be that by the end of the season. And in terms of Hamko, Braxton, you mentioned it. I think Gleyber Torres didn't have a great week. He had a couple other guys that kind of underperformed. Luis Robert only had 20 points. The pitching wasn't great either, but we'll get to his Week 3 matchup in just a little bit. So now let's go to your matchup, Braxton. I know there was a bunch of intrigue with a couple of matchups, but let's get ours out of the way first. So, Braxton, you took on the infamous Scoop, who for the second straight week did not meet the start limit. Scoop, if you're listening, for the love of Christ, just do it once. So
I think he still would have lost had he set his lineups that one day, and then he would have met the start minimum because he had Corey Kluber going that day. But what do you call it? I like the performance of some of my guys. I mean, Luis Arias hit a cycle. I probably don't win if that doesn't happen. I probably lose if that doesn't happen. And what do you call it? Elias Diaz is catcher 5. Who saw that coming? That's
no
huge.
One.
Yeah. And then 38 points from Mauricio Dubon, 34 points from Connor Joe. And I remember when Cody said that I was going to lose by 100, he said one team has Andrew McCutchen and the other team doesn't. Well, that Andrew McCutchen put up 40 points this week. 39, I'm going to round it up to 40. It was a dog and would have been Scoop's third highest scoring bat this week. Andrew McCutchen's a beast. He can still play. And even the stream start of Jamier Candelario with 24 points today makes me very happy. So, honestly, I'm not going to pretend like I had a good week, but I did what I had to do. I mean, look, no, seriously, like look at my team. It's 515 points. It would have lost to everybody else except for Scoop and Connor. Would have been the only teams. Oh, and Hamko. So the Braxton defense is really going strong here, John Haidt.
It is.
Yeah. So 2-0. We'll see what happens against Jake next week, but maybe we start off 3-0 here. It would be kind of crazy. So, yeah.
Definitely will be. And Paul, you can give your unfiltered, honest reaction to this matchup.
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything to add, at least on Braxton's side. I mean, the Luis Arias cycle, that makes the difference. Without it, I don't know if he'd win. Even against Scoop, who, I mean, it's been discussed his managing ability. I'm sure he's got a lot of stuff going on in his life, and I don't want to, dig on him too bad. Other people do that enough. But in terms of his team, I mean, we said it last week. He has pieces. I said he has the worst roster in the league. I still would stand by that. But I mean, Rengifo, he only had -1 this week, but I think he's a good player. Ty France is good. C.J. Abrams I like a lot. Buxton, if he can stay healthy and not strike out 12 times in a week, he's still a good player. The pitching isn't there, but he's got some bright spots. Logan Webb is good. Ryan Helsley, I still like that trade that he made. Was it Rasmussen or was it Springs?
Springs.
Well, yeah, it looks even better now with Springs going down probably for the rest of the year. So, Scoop, if you're listening, if you set your lineup, man, you'll be fine in this league. and I don't know if that's your intention to not. I hope it's not. You know, I don't really like tankers. So set your lineup, man.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to rag on you before Scoop. I just like he has some pieces. I mean, when you mentioned a lot of them, Paul. I think something that is going to hurt though is Giancarlo Stanton just got pretty hurt again, as he always does. I think he's out 4 to 6 weeks. So I mean, he does this every year. So maybe he'll get it out of the way early. But I mean, like you mentioned, I love Logan Webb. Funny enough, Wade Miley had a pretty good week. He had at least a good start. Domingo Germán had a just out of nowhere start against Minnesota. And Braxton's favorite pitcher, Graham I almost said Ashcraft had a good couple starts as well. But whatchamacallit, again, Scoop, set your lineup. And Braxton, you do have a chance to go 3-0. But we'll wait and see once you get to a arguable tougher part of your schedule in the next couple of weeks after that.
I just made a
trade. I'm going to just do my matchup.
I just made a trade. I like breaking trades on the podcast for everyone to hear. You know, even though they're going to probably see it in a little bit. But it's Brian Reynolds to Tita for Zach Neto, Alex Verdugo, and Spencer Torkelson.
Oh, my God.
Yep. You got Neto?
Yep.
Oh, damn it. All right.
Yeah, I'm about to post that real quick. So,
well, I know how much you hated the number 1 ranked whatever center fielder in baseball because he's 28, so you got your wish.
Yeah, well, I bought 2 years. I view Verdugo's and and Reynolds is about having the similar rest of the regular seasons here. I think that they're going to be fine. The Reynolds hot streak is over. So, and I got Zach Neto, which he's a dog, and I love Torkelson.
Oh.
So,
interesting. Tita had Reynolds, got him back. Reynolds just was insane on Tita's team when I traded him Reynolds originally, so maybe he can replicate that. But Paul, do you have anything else about that trade before we go on?
Watch out for Reynolds. He'll go on another 5-game home run streak.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, you got your wish, Brack.
The prodigal son returns. I don't anticipate trading Spencer Torkelson again. So,
I mean, we could talk about Spencer Torkelson's over/under strikeouts another time. That would be a whole other podcast episode.
Hell.
But anyway, let me just do my matchup real quick. So I took on Jamie, and first of all, big shout out to Jamie. This was a very stressful week. Outside of the Cody Henn matchup, which we'll do next. I mean, I had a pretty good lead for most of the week. I had some really good pitching early on. You're starting to see what my pitching kind of is going to look like the rest of the season. Fortunately, I'm going to have Max Fried back tomorrow, and I'm still waiting on 3 or 4 of my other aces. But, this was a close game. Garrett Cole had 76 today and made it really interesting. I think the closest he cut it to was like 20. But it was a great week. I mean, I scored 781 points. Jamie scored 739. That would have beaten everyone except me and Cody, so I'm sure he's not happy about that, as I would not be either. He got a great week out of Pete Alonso. Bobby Witt had a really good week. Acuna did as well. Gunnar kind of had an off week. That was one thing I noticed. Trey Turner had a good week. Cole had 104 points, which, I mean, that's just insane. Yu Darvish and DeGrom had a couple of good starts. I think Darvish had a good start today. He didn't have a great first start, I think, this week. But outside of that, but in terms of my team, JT Realmuto was kind of most of the week, but he had a really good day today to make up for it. Olsen did well. Jimenez kind of had an off week. Francisco Lindor, I think, Braxton, you mentioned it last week. He was one of the guys for me that didn't really wake up yet. He ended with 63, so he woke up. Judge had an off week, but again, I'm not going to expect all these guys to be, God tier every week. I mean, Trout only had 20. Ohtani wasn't great at the plate this week. He just had the pitching. Really liked what I saw from Zach Gallen. He had 95. He's back. Corbin Burns had a fantastic start this week as well. He had 49 in his. Framber had a couple of good starts. So I'm excited that I was able to beat Jamie. To start out the season, I have Henn next week too. So I really wanted to go at least 2-1. So at the minimum, I will be that because Henn's going to be really tough next week. Jamie now is 0-2 though, but I think as his schedule gets a little bit different outside of Hen and me, and I don't know who's playing next week, he has a chance to string along some wins. So I don't think there's really anything to worry about for Jamie. He's got a squad. And for me, though, one little issue, my relievers kind of stink. Clay Holmes is making me mad. Ryan Presley's making me mad. I'm still waiting for Munoz to come back. So that's a little something I might be looking into this week. Maybe buying another reliever. Because that was very disappointing. Because a lot of the good teams in this league have great relievers. Cody, Paul. I love Felix Bautista. Maybe he'll trade me him, but that's a discussion for another time. But we'll see how it'll all play out. But I was proud that I was able to beat Jamie. So Braxton, we'll start with you. What did you think of our matchup?
I don't have much more to add other than just you had a really good week. He had a really good week. Somebody had to lose, and it's unfortunate. I think Jamie has scored like almost double the amount of points that I have, and it's close. Actually, no, never mind. Jamie scored 1,872, and I've scored 1,158, and I'm 2-0, and Jamie's 0-2. So that's kind of wild. Jamie has the most points against of anybody in the league by almost 100. So it's gotten unlucky, but I'm sure he's going to get an easier patch here where he'll turn it around. He's not going to be one of the bottom teams for very long, for sure. But Good for you, John Height. You're 2-0.
Thank you.
That's really good, and good luck the rest of the way, I guess. Right.
Thank you, Braxton.
Yes,
Paul,
sir.
what do you have to say?
So I heard that you like Felix Bautista. I'm looking here. It says Shohei Ohtani only scored 52 points. I'm thinking Felix for Ohtani 1-for-1. Let's do a live deal right now. Felix for Ohtani. Say yes.
As intriguing as that sounds, Paul, and that's very intriguing, I will have to respectfully decline.
All right, we'll talk offline.
Yeah,
All right.
This is something we could talk about for hours.
Yeah. So to the matchup. Matchup of the week, I think this week, pretty clearly. Jamie had a hell of a comeback today with Garrett Cole. John Height's team really good, but the story here is Jamie's team is 0-2. And Jamie's team does not have the talent to be an 0-2 team. He should not have 2 losses. He had two tough opponents first 2 weeks. But looking ahead a little bit for Jamie, he plays me this coming week. We'll see what happens. I'd like to call myself not a tough out. I think
you're not a tough.
Yeah, I think he'll beat me. But if he doesn't beat me, he's 0-3. And then guess who he plays in week 4? That would be the Bowling Green Hot Rods, Cody's team. Is there a chance that he starts 0-4?
Wait, Paul, I didn't hear it right. You are a tough out. Why are you discrediting yourself?
I literally just traded Jose Ramirez this week, and
you still dropped 700. You dropped 700 points.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a rebuilding team apparently.
No, you're a retooler.
Oh yeah, that's true. I did say I'm a retooler. I like that better.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll let you finish your point, but I just want to say, I think you and Jamie are going to be a really intriguing matchup to watch next week because I think there should be a lot of points scored in that one.
Yeah. No, I agree. But the point I'm saying here is, if I do somehow end up beating Jamie, then he plays week 4. He loses the cup. He's 0-4. That roster could potentially be an 0-4 roster, or even 1-3, even if he beats me. So that to me is the takeaway from this, because John Height, you have a great team.
Thank you.
So Jamie losing, still, it's tough. It's tough sledding. The schedule maker, must have had it out for Jamie this year.
Yeah, no, I think the next 2 weeks are really important because it definitely would stink for a team this good to start out 0-4. He had Hen, I think, scored the most points last week, if I remember correctly. I mean, Cody scored the most points this week, but I scored the second most points. About 0-3 or 0-4. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's go straight to the Cody versus Hen matchup, which was, I think everyone was saying was going to be the number one matchup of the week, outside of me and Jamie. So Cody won 796 to 650. Definitely a very interesting matchup, to say the least. Paul, we'll start with you. What did you think of this one?
So, great matchup. Obviously, it's Hen Dog that took Jose Ramirez from me. He got 25 points out of him. So I don't think it's indicative yet of how good exactly Hen Dog's team is. The big takeaway on this is Sandy Alcantara scored 0 points this week for Hen. So that's where your difference is. Drew Rasmussen finally came down to earth. So there, I mean, obviously, Hen Dog doesn't have to be worried. 650, not a great showing, but we all know that team is not going anywhere. As for Cody, he got Cedric Mullins for me as well as Aaron Nola. Just stacking that pitching rotation. 380 points out of his pitching, 416 out of his bats. There's nothing much to say. He's just going to keep steamrolling. Trying to find. I spent the last couple minutes trying to find his weakness on his roster. I can't find one.
Yeah, I mean, like we all say, Cody's team has been the standard. There is no weakness. That's the answer to that question. But Braxton, what did you think?
Yeah, just it was as anticipated. Two heavyweights. Potential finals matchup, as we've been all talking about. But I was surprised to see. Oh wait, hold on. I'm looking at it wrong. 1 sec. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to close the deal with Tita here. Yeah. So Brandon Lau just again gets 20 points over expected. And that trade is looking better and better for Cody every day. And I think that played a huge part of it, in my opinion. But also, this was not a good week for Yoshida, man. Only 3 points out of the 24 projected. So I think that probably won't happen again. And with Cody getting some newer pieces in, I don't think he got any starts from Patrick Sandoval this week with him bringing in Nola.
Oh.
So
yeah, no, he did.
Yeah, so this is going to be really interesting to see how Cody navigates this moving forward now with all these elite pitchers. I want to see who he kind of plugs and plays and everything. But I saw that Max Scherzer got hurt, and that's also not very good for Hen Dog. So I'm thinking Hen Dog makes a big trade for an arm here at some point this week. Because who I think he has another competitive matchup next week, if I was right looking ahead. Yeah, so that's going to be. It's going to be the biggest one of the week for next week. Shoot, Hen could go 1-2, and I'll be 3-0 maybe. That'd be kind of funny. So we'll see.
Yeah, that would be a narrative. But one other thing I want to mention is I think Hen got 71 of Luis Castillo. So even though Sandy has been kind of Mickey the last couple of starts, outside of the complete game, Castillo has been an absolute dog for him. But yeah, Max Scherzer. I'm going to have the problem with Verlander and some of these older pitchers is just them staying healthy. Scherzer had a better start this week when he did play. I think he had 29 points, but he's got to get healthy because Hen has definitely improved his pitching. But as we've seen, you need the pitching to roll with the best teams of this league because look at Cody's pitching, like Paul mentioned. So many great contributors. The usual suspects, McClanahan had 65, and then he trades for Aaron Nola, and he gave him a casual 26 points. So now let's go to another matchup this week. Let's go to Smelly versus Connor, the Good Boy Bowl. I think they were coining it in the main chat. Smelly is also 2-0, good showing against Connor. He had 517 and 324. A good showing for this matchup with Connor. A bit of a weaker week for Connor as compared to his last showing against Cody. Braxton, we'll start with you. What did you think of the Good Boy Bowl?
Spencer Torkelson outscored Andrew Vaughn this week, 13-12,
wow.
which I thought was pretty funny. And Yeah, that was the most important thing that I noticed. 40 points from Hunter Renfroe for Connor. That was pretty solid. Maybe I see him trying to make a move there and capitalize on some of that. But again, pitching was the difference. But despite the fact each of them got negative 25 from one guy, Chris Flexen minus 25 for Connor and Johnny Brito minus 25 for Smelly. So it's interesting. I think both of them are going to try to make moves for arms here in the near future. But, I mean, and also each of them barely got over the start limit too. 8 for Connor and 9 for Smelly. So could have been maybe even some more points in there. So I really would like to see each of them try to go get some more arms. But we'll definitely be monitoring that. That'll be interesting to watch going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Paul, what do you think?
So I think I predicted that Smelly would beat Connor in this matchup previously. I really like some of the moves that Connor made this week in terms of trades that we'll get to when we get talking about trades. But, overall, Justin Turner at 54 points, Ian Happ, 44. My guy, Austin Hayes, I love Austin Hayes, 79 points. Dude is just a hitting machine. So it's a good win for Smelly. Nothing much else to say. Hunter Brown keeps climbing up. A big name to watch in terms of a guy that might be joining elite pitchers. But otherwise, good win for Smelly. Big time 2-0. We'll get into it, but he plays Cody next week, so it might not be undefeated for long.
Yeah, it definitely will be interesting next week. But yeah, the only thing I'm going to add, you mentioned Hunter Brown. I think it's just been so impressive to see. He had the great start this week, and what he's going to be for the rest of the season, because everyone knew, sort of in the off season and spring training, what Hunter Brown could do. And I think we're slowly starting to see it. He's going to turn into another ace for that Astros pitching staff that just lost, Verlander, and plugging him in to potentially be a part of replacing him. But also, Johnny Brito, as a Yankees fan, he had a couple of good starts to start the season. He unfortunately was a part of that game where the Twins, I think, scored like 11 runs on the Yankees. So, I don't think he's going to have minus 25 next week. Maybe I'll be wrong. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about the rest of this one. You guys hit the points home pretty well. So I think we have 2 more matchups to cover before we talk about some trades. Let's do the Tita Jake matchup. So Tita won 610 to 554. Excuse me. Paul, we'll start with you. What did you think of this one?
So Tita won 610, 554. Yandy Diaz, I love Yandy Diaz. I get that. I traded Yandy Diaz to Tita. 435 points is a lot of points from your bats. Tita clearly has the bats to compete with anybody in this league, even the top teams, I would say.
He just added another one.
His pitching still lacks. Paul Sewald actually 41 points this week. That's crazy. And he's the main guy now with Munoz down. Shintaro Fujinami finally had some positive points. That's a plus. But otherwise, yeah, I like where Tita's headed. I think he's firmly in the playoff position, playoff discussion. As for Jake, he's got good pieces. I don't know if he's yet interested in selling. Trying to rebuild a little bit, because he definitely has some guys that would go for pretty penny. And Machado, Max Muncy, Schwarber, it's the same guys that we had said last week. George Springer's a good piece. Tough luck with the Springs, great, but it's up to him what he wants to do. I know what I would do, as I've already done it. But we'll see what the Fighting Phils decide and where they go from here.
Yeah, definitely something to look out for in the next coming weeks. And Braxton, what did you think?
1 second, pulling it back up. Sorry, I'm trying to close this. Okay, we're talking about Tita Jake. Yeah, Tita continues to ball. with dealing. He just made a trade with me, Brian Reynolds, as we speak. So he's adding that bat to his already good collection that he's growing over there. And I mean, I also don't see Jake as an 0-2 team. Like, I expected him to kind of have a rough year, but I thought he would like be near the 500 record, so it's kind of surprising me. I play him next week, and that's really going to be a test, I think, for both of us. I think if Jake loses to me and goes 0-3, then I think some of the sale will happen. But if he beats me and it's close, then I don't know what will happen in the future, but we'll see. I also think that he had some good production from his relief pitchers. I mean, the 5 relief strategy, everyone's been judging him for it a little bit, but I kind of like it, man. I mean, I'm seeing David Robertson gave him 43. AJ Minter had a good day today, but I mean, some of these other guys, I mean, as long as they don't go negative, really. My guy's been going negative, which is kind of unfortunate, but I would like to see what he could do if he put up Machado and some of these other decent bats like Schwarber and Springer too. So, again, we'll see. But I like what Tita's doing a lot. Tita's on a roll, so we'll see. I expect him to be in the playoff position as well. I could see him easily winning 12 games, 10, 11, 12 games. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Tita. I mean, he can rub it in my face like he did with the Reynolds trade. I traded him Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy had 79 points this week, including 3 home runs. Again, I made that trade because Murphy was not playing. He kept getting benched for some reason. Travis d'Arnaud gets hurt, and he decides to, drop a 20-piece and a 30-piece this week, respectively. So that trade is probably going to bite me in the butt for a while. But I'm so happy with JT Realmuto, and he helped me win today. But, yeah, Sean Murphy's going to be a dog for him. But I think, again, some of his bats underperformed, too. Andrew Vaughn only had 17 this week. I think, at that point, I'm looking through some of the other. I mean, it's just sometimes so hard because when I'm looking at the full week scoring, a lot of these guys, he ends up moving too, and it works out because his team still puts up all these great numbers. And I agree with you, Bracken. I think he will be a playoff team. I think it's pretty safe to say at this point he will be a playoff team. I think he traded for Kodai this week. I don't know if it was this week or last week. Senga didn't have that great of a start either. So, I mean, that'll definitely improve. He had a pretty good start out of Zach Wheeler, who I know he traded for recently as well. But again, and then Paul Sewald, too. I mean, that kind of worries me as a Munoz owner. Maybe they'll just make Munoz the setup guy, or if they're just going to give Sewald the closer job. But in terms of Jake, you guys said it before. I like the point you brought up, Bracken, that, next week could be very indicative of it, because maybe is it almost a win-lose situation if he barely beats you next week, because maybe the underlying issues could still be there. If he squeaks out a victory against you, and then maybe if he loses, he'll start retooling like Paul is doing, collecting some youth as well to try to restock the prospect pool and draft picks. But we'll only wait and see. And let's talk about our last matchup of week number 2. It was Bry versus Chad. Bry won this one 7-14 to 6-21. But my God, it was a great showing from Stingray. I mean, I used to call him Stingray. I know he's Chad, but Stingray's such a good name. Bry had a great week, and Chad, for a while, I think he was a top scorer for the first couple of days of the week at least. But yeah, Bracken, we'll start with you.
I am continuing to say that Bry is a very I think he's one of the more underrated good teams in this league. I feel like people slot him at the undisputed 5th or 6th seed here. I think he's more. I think he belongs in the conversation as one of the 2 or 3 best teams in this league. I think that his pitching can compete with anybody. He had a couple good starts this week. Nestor Cortez 32, Reed Detmers 22, Hunter Green 31. Nick Lodolo had a good game. Jesus Luzardo got 25. He's got some guys, and I know Alek Manoah is struggling, but I don't anticipate that continuing the entire year. But if he can get that going, I think he's got as good a 8 or 9 pitching staff as anybody else in this league. I also really like some of the bats, like Stephen Kwan, Brendan Donovan. Eloy's back. Hopefully Eloy will continue to or hopefully start playing well. I like Rafael Devers a lot. Ozzy Albies had a good week this week too. I feel like now he's finally starting to turn around. Same thing with Vinny Pasquantino. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to call him Vinny P. He had a very good week this week, his best week of the year. So I think that Bry's team is headed in the right direction. I think you said it right too, John. The 621 from Chad is also a good showing, but he's also 0-2 because he lost to me last week. So hopefully next week he can turn it around. We'll see what happens.
And Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, we've talked about his arms ad nauseum. I mean, his arms are elite, up there with Cody's, I think. But 436 points from your bats is elite production. And, he's got guys that there's no real stars on this team. I mean, his highest scoring guy, as Braxton said, was Vinny P, the 53, which is a lot. But he's just getting consistent scoring across the board. Shout out my guy, Jorge Mateo. 56. Oh, he was the highest scoring. Okay. So he had two guys that scored over 50, which is insane. And Jorge Mateo had a great weekend in Chicago this weekend. As for the other side, as for Sting right here, Chad, my guy Chad, he's got a good team too. Jarek Lennox, a beast. James Outman, I think he traded him, but he's a beast too. He's got good pitching. Andrew Heaney finally is coming around, I think. I think he's going to have a good year this year. So we'll see. It's Giovanni Gallegos. He's got good relievers, which you need in this league. So we'll see what happens. I think he's going to be in the conversation too. We'll see if he wants to build up or trade down. But 7 teams got to make the playoffs, so we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll start with Bry first. This is, for me, I think this is a scary team. I forgot when I played Bry, but the pitching, you guys mentioned it. There's so many guys. I think Christian Javier, if I remember correctly, didn't even have that great of a week. There's so many pitchers on this team. Yeah, he only had 10 points, so that's not going to happen again. So many guys on this team: Jesus Luzardo, Lodolo, Joe Ryan, too. We've got to mention him. I think he's SP6 right now. Blake Snell was a little underwhelming this week as well. I love Rafael Devers. I love Vinny Pasquantino. He's got some decent catchers as well, Randy. So this is a team that's going to be scary for a while. I will say, if I end up maybe matching up with him in the playoffs, I would hate that matchup because he has so many options to choose from in terms of his arms. He definitely can be the type of owner to try to just pick the best matchups possible, and the talent is there. And for Chad, Jared Kelenic, you mentioned it, Paul. What a week! He had 3 home runs. I think they were all on consecutive days. I think it was 3 straight days in a row. Brandon Marsh had 56. He had a couple of guys a little under the radar. Luis Garcia had 40. Some guys that just came up out of nowhere. Some pretty good point production from his relievers too. I think Gallegos had 44. He had a save and a hold. So I am very also interested to see what Chad's going to do. Is he going to try to win a little bit? I know he's got a lot of prospects as well. I think this is a team that's Kyle Harrison and a couple other guys. So I wonder what he's going to do going forward. But 621, that would have been a decent amount of teams this week. So we'll wait and see. So now that covered our week 2 matchups. Let's head to the deals. There was a lot. And I think for the sake of this, Paul, we talked a lot. Cody and Braxton talked a lot about your deals. So
yeah,
if there's anything else you want?
No, I'll touch on them real quick. I feel like, they covered it. The Jose Ramirez deal, I just couldn't turn it down. Hendog offered, the world and a half for it. And, I knew when I accepted that trade that I was going to have to make more trades, which I was fine with. And there's going to be more to be made from them. That Brady Singer, Cedric Mullins deal that I made with Cody, all of the deals I made, I think I might regret that one the most. I I mean, Cedric Mullins is my second favorite player in the league right now, behind Adley. So it's tough to take the fanhood out of it. I like Garrett Mitchell a lot. I like Connor Norby a lot. But yeah, otherwise, I think they touched on most of what I would say. I will say one last thing. I think it was the trade I made with Tita. Yeah, it was the Gavin Stone and Alec Burleson for Urquidy, Estrada, and Dalton Rushing. Dalton Rushing is a really good prospect, but I already have Adley and I already have Bo Naylor that I got in that Hendog trade. So for me, Dalton Rushing was an expendable piece, but for Tita, a catching prospect is something he could use. So plus I believe in Gavin Stone a lot. I get he's smaller, but he's a guy that I really think is going to be a really good pitcher. I think he'll end up being the best player in that deal. But otherwise, I'll relent and we can get to everybody else's trades because it's not just about me.
Well, I have one question, Paul, because I listened to Cody and Brackton's episode, and I thought this was interesting. And obviously, I'm not that familiar with it because this is our first time doing baseball together. I think it was either Cody or Brackton, I don't remember who. I think it was the trade with Connor, where you traded Sixto Sanchez away for Emerson Hancock. And I think one of them said that you had him in multiple leagues. So I was just curious what your thought process was about that one.
That's actually a good point. I did mean to touch on that. I do own Sixto Sanchez in 2 other. So I'm in 3 dynasty leagues. This one's my main one, but I'm also in 2 other ones. And I have Sixto in both of them. So it was pretty much just a hedge thing where, I like Emerson Hancock. I ended up trading him, almost right away for Amador to Cody. But it was more so I was just kind of like, well, I have Sixto. I believe in Sixto. I love Sixto. I think he's going to be really good. But, I liked Emerson Hancock. I still do. But I didn't need him in all 3 leagues, so I was like, just try something different, kind of.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was curious what your thought process was. I mean, it is tough to own someone in so many different leagues, and especially if God forbid they don't pan out and everything, you're kind of stuck with them.
Right.
But I mean, Sixto's got some upside. But dude, while you were talking, a trade happened too. So, I mean, we'll stick with you, Paul, because I want to hear what you have to say about the other trades. But the trade that just was posted as of 12:47 in the morning, Jamie gets Chris Sale, and Tita gets Duran. Duran's a reliever, I believe so. So, Jamie gets another arm. Chris Sale's been rough this year, but, I mean, it's still Chris Sale. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to turn it around. But yeah, Paul, talk about that one, and then what other trades you had before we head to Brackton.
Yeah, Duran, I think he's going to end up the Twins closer, so I like that for Tita. Jamie gets an arm, which he needs, so I think it's mostly a win-win. It's a smaller trade, but sometimes it's the small trades that, become big trades. The one I'll harp on, or the couple that I'll harp on the most is Connor's trades. And they were actually both made today. The one where he gave Noelvi Marte to Tita, where he got Matt Mervis, Ronnie Mauricio, Chase DeLauder, and a 3rd-round pick. I'm really big on Ronnie Mauricio. I know some people aren't, but I think Mauricio could be almost as talented, if not more so, than Noelvi Marte. And I like him a lot, too, which means that he's getting Mervis, DeLauder, both of which who are top 100 or borderline top 100 prospects. So I think Connor killed that trade. And then the Torkelson. So he gives, how Tita trades. He gave Torkelson. He gave Mauricio back to Tita, but he got Jose Miranda, Nick Frasso, and Anthony Solometo. I like Torque a lot. I like Jose Miranda a lot too. That's more of an even trade, though, I would say, because Frasso and Solometo for Mauricio. You get 2 pitching prospects. Plus, I like Frasso a decent amount. So, those are the big 2 that I liked a lot. But I liked them a lot for Connor. But otherwise, just scrolling through, there's nothing huge that stands out to me as Well, that Brian Reynolds trade, actually, that where he gave Brian Reynolds for Curtis Mead, Gavin Cross, Jared Schuster, and a fourth. Curtis Mead was the guy that's been thrown around for me. I think it was Breckton. Was it with you when we were talking? I can't remember. I've been a billion different trade negotiations.
No, yeah, we were talking about Curtis Mead, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Curtis Mead fan. So, when a big name like that moves, it's a big deal. But then I think he moved again because, as we said, he was just wheels and deals. So,
and then Tita gets Brian Reynolds back tonight. About 20 minutes ago.
Yep. So,
yeah.
And then the one more I'll talk about is I traded Yelich for Jared Schuster and Axel Sanchez. I'm a big Yelich fan. It's tough to get rid of guys that I like because I kind of assembled a team of, players that I like that are also decently talented. So moving guys like that's tough for me, but I'm also playing the game a little bit. I like Jared Schuster, a decent amount, and I think Axel Sanchez will be a top 100 prospect before he graduates. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I really got.
Yeah, definitely some good insight there, Paul, just from everything. Bracton, you could talk about your trades and then what else you saw this week.
All right, so I had a quiet week, sort of. I mean, I only made one real trade. Oh wait, never mind. Hold on. I scrolled up. I didn't scroll up enough. Okay, so I like the Pablo Lopez deal I made, even though everybody keeps talking about how I keep flip-flopping on Pablo Lopez, but I think he's here to stay for now, to be honest. I don't see myself moving him again for a while unless somebody gives me a better prospect than Marcelo Meyer, which I believe there are few. So, yeah. I mean, we'll see about that, but most likely not. I really like the trade I just made tonight, getting Zach Neto, Alex Verdugo, and Spencer Torkelson for Brian Reynolds. I think I got more than I paid for him back. So what I traded Curtis Mead. Where was that trade? Hold on. Curtis Mead, Gavin Cross, Jared Schuster, and a fourth. And I got Zach Neto, Alex Verdugo, and Spencer Torkelson. I think Neto is just as good, if not better, than Mead. And I like Verdugo more than Cross because he's up now and actually playing and producing. I don't see Verdugo having that much of a drop-off behind Reynolds for the rest of the year. I think they're going to be about even. And then I just consider Spencer Torkelson for a fourth and Jared Schuster, which I'll run all day because Spencer Torkelson's my guy. So I like what I did there. That's probably the biggest thing that I did this week. I don't really have much else because we recorded that whole podcast about Paul's deals. I will say Cody getting Vaughn Grissom is an interesting one. I mean, stocking up on Braves for him has worked in the past, but giving up Noel V. Marte is something that, I don't know, I kind of thought wouldn't happen. I think Cody could have afforded to wait on Noel V. Marte, but if you see something in Vaughn Grissom, who am I to judge? He's been right about every Brave every Brave for a while now. I mean, look at his team. He's got Austin Riley, Strider, and a lot of others. So,
Harris.
Yeah, I'm probably forgetting. I was just naming off the top of my head, but yeah. So, I mean, that was the most interesting trade for me. That wasn't a me or Paul trade for the week, but I think Connor did some work today. I really like what he did, getting Royce Lewis and a lot of other good assets. So we'll see what happens going forward next week, but I'm hoping, I mean, all reason to believe there's going to be a lot of other interesting deals to talk about this time next week. So
I'll jump in real quick before you go, John Haidt. I just saw that, Braxton, you're calling up Logan O'Hoppe and Brett Beatty and Zach Neto.
Yep.
I think it's interesting you're calling up Beatty and Neto before they've even taken an at-bat.
No, Neto played a couple games so far, I thought. What I saw, hold on.
I thought he was called up today. Am I wrong on that?
No, he played.
Are you sure? I know.
Yeah, no, he played yesterday and 2 days ago, but he struck out twice, one day, and then did something else. He got -2 both days. But Beatty's going to play, and I see Beatty sticking around for the rest of the year because Eduardo Escobar is just not a good baseball player at all. So Logan O'Hoppe is a dog. So I think that they're going to be fine. So we'll see. I like my nice young lineup right now. O'Hoppe, Torkelson, Arias, Beatty, Nito, Verdugo, Joey Weimer, Riley Green, and then some older guys, Andrew McCutchen and Mauricio Dubon, who has actually been very impressive. Mauricio Dubon, I don't know whether you guys have noticed, the last 7 days he has averaged 7.83 points and has only had one really bad little stint. The last 30 days has been a 6-point bat. So it'll be an interesting week for sure against Jake. So I'm ready to have the young guys start coming up and balling.
Got 2 strikeouts, 50 at bats. It's pretty good. Mauricio Dubon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bragg, I mean, what that tells me is, you're 2-0. Obviously, it was a long season, but you're definitely putting yourself in a better position to maybe get a win next week. Brett Beatty's a dog. He's been tearing up AAA, so I'm glad the Mets finally were smart enough to realize that Easy Out Escobar should not be playing baseball as well. For me, I didn't make any deals this week. Quiet week for me for the first time in a long time. I just kind of let my team rock. Obviously, I was probably one of every team in the league checking in on J Ram and Paul. Obviously, my prospect pool is outside of Volpe. It's definitely a lot, not as good as it was when I first took over the team for obvious reasons to make my team ready to contend this year. You asked for a lot, and as you should, because he's the best third baseman in the league, arguably. So you asked for a couple of major league players, like I would have too. I think I forgot who it even was, but some deals. You guys hit on all the big ones. Kind of scrolling through here to see anything. Ronnie Mauricio got traded a couple of times. I like him. Braxton, you got Francisco Alvarez on April 12th. You gave away Bubic, Locklear, and a 24 third. I think it was Connor.
Yeah.
Francisco Alvarez, he's taken a lot of heat. He's had a pretty rough start this season, but, he was a number 1 overall prospect at one point. I know a lot of Mets fans aren't really crazy with him right now, but, he's got a ton of power, so I wouldn't start worrying yet. Mets fans shouldn't be worrying either because it's very early in his career. And, again, you got some other good prospects coming up. Tita got Kodai Senga at one point. I don't know if he had traded him away. I got to scroll down a little bit, but I know me and Tita both have had Senga, I think, 2 or 3 times so far. Tita got Max Muncy as well at one point. I'm not going to talk about any of the other Paul trades. Cody always, you guys mentioned with the Braves and everything, he did trade away Kyle Wright for Garrett Mitchell at one point. I know Kyle Wright is coming off the injury. I know he didn't start the season right away. I'm glad that you're going to keep Pablo Lopez Bracton because you need arms, and he's a very good arm. So
and I'm probably open to trading Alvarez for an arm. I'll just say that right now. If anybody wants or is interested in that, I think I'm going to go with O'Hoppe as my catcher going forward. So if anyone's interested in Alvarez, he's available.
Well, I wouldn't panic on Alvarez yet, but it's understandable. I think Jamie did the same thing when he had Alvarez. So, I don't blame you there entirely. Looking at anything else, I remember the Yelich trade. Again, for your team, Paul, it doesn't really fit what you're trying to do, so I understand it. I'm still scrolling through Jose Urquidy and Miranda, James Ottman, Cody getting Vaughn Grissom. Yeah, I was very surprised about Nueve Marte as well. I'm sure Grissom is going to pop off because every trade Cody's done so far during the season. You go back to the Brandon Lau trade. They always pop off, so I'm sure he'll have 3 home runs next week. I think that's really it. We hit on at least a majority of the bigger ones. Again, Jamie getting Chris Sale, definitely adding another arm is crucial. Brandon Woodruff, I think on his team is out for a little bit, so he's got to kind of replace that in some capacity. I think this week's going to be definitely interesting because we're getting to that point where we're 2 weeks in. People kind of are getting a decent sense of their team. In my mind, for most fantasy leagues, I feel like once you get to week 5, especially since it's 19 weeks, I think by week 5, everyone kind of knows decently where they're at.
I think week 3 you're slowly getting there, so there should be some good trades this week. And shout out to Connor for doing some work today. I like both those trades. I'm not a big Torkelson guy, so anytime he gets moved, and I'm sorry, Brackton, I just okay. I mean, he's your guy. He's your guy. Go get your guy. That's another thing I love about Tita too. I mean, sometimes he'll overpay a little bit in other people's mind, but they pop off, and it's all about getting your guys. It's all that matters. Hen quote unquote overpaid for J Ram, but again, that's his guy. That's going to help him try to win this year. So that trade worked out well for both sides. So now to wrap things up, let's head to week number 3. Let me pull this bad boy up. So all right, we're week 3, which obviously will be starting tomorrow, or I guess today. It's 1 a.m. now at the time we're recording this. So let me read down the matchups, and you guys can give your impressions. And we'll go, matchup by matchup with the quick predictions. Me versus Hen, Homco versus Connor, Bry versus Scoop, Cody versus Smelly, Brackton versus Jake, Tita versus Chad, and Paul versus Jamie. Let's start with Paul and Jamie, because we'll get ours out of the way first. And I'll start with you, Paul, because you're playing Mr. Jamie. So what do you think about this week and your prediction?
So I kind of think I said it before. I think Jamie's going to win this week. I think he'll get his first win of the season. I do think there is potential for this matchup to be the matchup of the week. Obviously, your matchup against Hen is going to be the highest scoring. But in terms of both of these teams and their directions, or potential directions, I maybe should say, it's real important for Jamie to get a win this week, because an 0-3 start facing Cody next week, possibly 0-4, there's going to be a lot of questions that he'll have to answer about his team. A decent look in the mirror. And as for me, if I'm 2-1, I'm not saying I'm going to change my strategy necessarily, but I will be looking at my team and saying, did I jump the gun a little bit? Should I have tried to keep J-Ram, Mullins, Nola, those kind of guys? Because maybe my team is good. Maybe I shouldn't have overreacted after scoring over 1,000 points in the first week. But I will say I think Jamie's going to win, but we'll see. That's all I'll say. We'll see.
Yeah, I completely understand. Brackton, what do you think of this one?
I agree with what Paul was saying. It's a wait and see type thing. I think that it will be the game of the week, but you and Hen will probably be around in that conversation too. But I like good narrative, and if Jamie's 0-3, maybe that causes him to move one of his big hitters that everyone I know has been asking about. So that would really interest me as a member of the league to see somebody of high profile, like maybe a Bobby Witt or a Gunnar Henderson, being moved after an 0-3 start. So I don't think that will happen, though. I do think Jamie will edge it out, but I do think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I think it will be close. Again, Paul, I think you're very down on your team sometimes when you shouldn't be. I think Jamie, though, will get the win just because, I love your bats, Paul, especially the younger guys. Obviously, the pitching has been, I think, an issue for you so far that I think by the end of the season, you're going to have, a better group than you currently do at this moment. But again, Garrett Cole's, I'm a Yankees fan, but he's been the best pitcher in baseball so far this season. It's very early, but, coming off the performance today, just him alone, he's probably going to have another, 60, 70-plus point week, assuming he's going to get 2 starts, potentially. But I think it's going to be close. I think your Orioles will pop off like they've been doing. Correa started off pretty slow. I think he had a pretty good series against the Yankees, so he'll be back. Didn't you get also a good start out of who's the Blue Jays pitcher? What's his name?
Berrios, Jose Berrios.
No, the other one.
Oh,
Kikuchi?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. So, hopefully he does that again. He did it against the Rays, who were godly for a while, so hopefully he does that again. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. But
he heard Cody call him a replacement-level pitcher and was like, I'll see you. He had I think it was like 11 strikeouts in a game in spring training this year.
Oh wow, yeah. So
He's gonna stay around for a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's good to hear because he's definitely got some potential. But all right, we'll head to me and Hen. And since I'm playing Hen, I'm not gonna, obviously I want to pick myself because I'm playing against him. I'm just gonna say this before I'll head to your guys' picks. I think this week can go one of two ways. If Sandy wakes up and turns into last year's Sandy, I think it's gonna definitely dictate what's gonna happen this week. His bats are great. They're young. They're good. His pitching, I mean, even outside of Sandy, Luis Castillo has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's had, he had one of these old dudes. Yeah, Sonny Gray's been really good to start the season. So if he gets a couple of good starts out of them, Freddie Peralta bounces back. Those are kind of the guys that are worrying me a little bit. I mean, Corbin Carroll, I think, is like the best outfielders in terms of scoring so far this year. I don't have to talk about his bats. His bats are great. It's going to be tough. And for my team, I'm looking for guys. I'm glad I'm getting Fried back, which, again, I think you're going to see closely what my team should be scoring every week over the next couple of weeks. Once I get all these dudes back, that means one less start for Carlos Carrasco and bum-ass Steven Matz and more for Max Fried and hopefully Rodon soon. So, I'm getting Fried tomorrow, barring anything unforeseen, or maybe one other start this week. I'm assuming he'll be on some sort of limit. But, I'm confident. I'm 2-0. Again, I'm glad I'm 2-0 because I think I can easily lose this week too because Hen was the highest scoring week 1. So if I come out 2-1 after playing you, Paul, Jamie, and Hen, I'm fine with that. 3-0 would be great as well. I don't play Cody for a little bit, so I'm glad that I get a bunch of these really, really just brutal matchups done early on. I want Mike Trout to wake the fuck up compared to last week too. Very upset. He only scored 20 points. I think Teoscar Hernandez on my bench was outscoring him, so I need the Angels to be good this week. Obviously, a lot of stock in him and Shohei Ohtani, and I need my pitch. I need Gallen to have another great week. Bieber was kind of today, so I got to see if he can have a better performance like he did against the Yankees earlier this week. And again, my relievers. So I may be in the market for a reliever. I'm putting that out there now. Jose Alvarado, I picked up off waivers. He's been pretty good. He's sort of a setup, whole type of pitcher. But if Clay Holmes gets lit up like a Christmas tree again, I'm definitely going to have to reconsider my relieving rotation because, again, it's so important in a league like this, and I just need my stars to wake up. So, Braxton, we'll start with you. What do you think is going to happen with me and Hen this week?
Well, first of all, if you're interested in a reliever, I've got a nice Adolis Chapman that has your name all over.
No.
Are you sure about that?
No.
Okay. Well,
I am positive.
All right, figured I had to ask. Again, this is going to be a very, very good week for the two of you in terms of really figuring out where your team's at. I think both of you have proven over the last couple of weeks that you can hang with the best. But I really am looking forward to this one because I'm just going to listen to you guys talk shit to each other in the calf for a straight week, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to sitting in the back seat for that, watching that. While I hopefully can beat Jake and have a better record than maybe both of you after this week. So that would be really great. That's what I would like to see. So I don't mean to say I'm rooting for Hen Dog for that narrative to happen, John Height, but I think that you will win. But it would be very funny if I got to say I was 3-0 and you guys were 2-1 each. So I would really want that to happen. So that's my analysis.
It's funny in principle, but I want to be 3-0, so I hope that doesn't happen. Paul, what do you think?
So, I think long run, Hen Dog has the better team, but for this week, I was just looking at both of your teams. You, John Height, you have Shohei and Corbin Burns on 2 starts this week each.
Yep.
Which is a pretty tall task to go against. But, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Hen Dog has the best top-to-bottom bats in this league. So if he can somehow maybe score 550 out of his bats, it will be close. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take John Height and the Hartford Yard Goats to win this one.
I appreciate both of that from you guys. I hope that didn't jinx the crap out of me, but I appreciate the confidence in my team. But yeah, me and Hen are going to be in for a fun one. Obviously, Hen's one of my closest friends, so I mean, we fought over many fantasy matchups in multiple leagues, so this will be a fun week. And with that in the NHL playoffs, the CAF will not be boring this week.
For sure.
And Braxton, we'll go to your matchup next as we conclude this episode. You versus Jake. Paul, we'll start with you.
So this is a tough one. I really like what Braxton's doing with his lineup. You know, Brett Batty and Zach Nito in his lineup, along with Verdugo. I like Verdugo a lot. There's just so much young talent that's in MLB now that Braxton has. I really think that he's going to get it done this week. But it's tough to go against guys like Machado and Schwarber and Springer and Marte. I mean, this low key. This might be a really tough matchup too. It's going to come down to who has the better arms, and I think by a small hair, Braxton has the better arms, and it's because he has Pablo Lopez. So I'll take Braxton's team, but this will be another one where Braxton needs to pull out his fantasy defense, and that's how I'll get his win.
Yeah, before we get to you, Braxton, I'm going to give my 2 cents because, obviously you're going up against him. I'm going to say this, and I hope this doesn't boost your ego too much. Because I looked at last week. I just think, obviously Jake has better players than you right now, but in terms of fantasy managers so far, I think Jake didn't even hit 12 starts last week. So if you can get 12 starts and he only had 10 like he did last week, that's going to help you. Obviously helped against Scoop this week. You're very savvy on the waiver wire, so I'm sure you'll pick up some just random player that played like 5 games this year, like what the dude from the Nationals today. So I think you're going to win this week, and I just think it'd make it really interesting to see what Jake's going to do with his team as well, because, again, he's got some guys. I do think, though, what you have to worry about is Manny Machado's been very slow to start the season. I think he has 1 homer, and he's been like 250. Like, he has 17 hits in like almost 70 at-bats. That's not going to last for long, and you need to pray that it does not happen this week, because, again, like Paul mentioned, him, Schwarber, Springer, Starling Marte, Noah Syndergaard's playing the Mets this week. The no-hitter, is going to come, so you have to worry about that.
Yeah, okay.
David Robertson's been very interesting lately, too. He's been pitching well. So I think they're going to win this week. I think it's going to be close. I think his bats can carry him because, obviously, Braxton, you're still waiting for a lot of these dudes to come up and pan out. But I think what put me over was you calling up Beatty and Nito. Because, I love Brett Beatty. I think Beatty's going to tear up the MLB throughout his career. I think early on he's going to be hot. I don't know if he's going to stay hot the rest of the season, but the way he's been hitting in AAA, I can't imagine him getting that cold when he's getting called up. I think, even with Francisco Alvarez, I think the hitting is just different. But I think you'll get the win. Again, don't want to boost your ego too much, but what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think a trade for an arm is going to happen this week. I'm going to just put that out there right now that I probably need to add 1 or 2 more arms. But this could mean a lot of I have 34 prospects, and I don't plan on keeping – I plan on being below the 30 mark by the end of the week. So if you guys are interested in giving me some arms for some prospects, I will be down to talk, I think, because I feel like that's my biggest problem right now is the arms. I want to just say screw it and run out an entire roster of these of these kids, right? But like Joey Weimer really should not be in my starting lineup right now. Like, I love the guy. I think he's awesome, and I really enjoy watching him, but averaging 3.67 points is not going to cut it when I'm actually trying to win a matchup. So maybe I can find other guys like Jamier Candelario who can chip in every once in a while that can maybe fill that spot. But Riley Green's been off to a semi-slow start. I want to see him pick it up. So this is a big week. Let's just let Andrew McCutchen keep cooking. Everybody hates him. Everybody's talking shit. But the 36-year-old is the undisputed leader of my team right now. So we're just going to let Andrew McCutchen ride us to 3-0 here. That's the plan. But I'm going to bank on my defense here too to contain Machado and Springer and all those guys. But I'm confident in my chances this week. We'll see.
Real quick.
Yeah, I don't.
Real
Oh,
quick.
sorry, you go, Paul.
I have a question for Braxton. Braxton,
Yeah.
if you win this week, you'll be 3-0. Are you going to abandon your strategy and try to win if you go 3-0 this week?
If I go 3-0 this week, I think you can see a lot of I think you could see a lot of the non-obvious prospects move for immediate help. Like, I don't think I would move off of Ellie De La Cruz, Jackson Holiday, Jackson Churio, Sal Frelick, those guys, but I think you could see a lot of movement coming from me to try and get some. I mean, I'm not gonna abandon my my image of trading for like 30-year-olds. Like, you won't see me trading prospects for guys over 30, but you could see me trading guys for prospects for guys under 30 that can help me win now, similar to the Brian Reynolds type deal. You know, if like the Curtis Mead and Gavin Cross for Brian Reynolds, I would look to do stuff like that, but maybe shoot for that 7 seed, 6 seed. But I also have 5 first-round picks, which I made a priority to do so I could keep my option open for wanting to compete. I have Scoop's first, Chad's first, and Jake's first, who are all currently 0-2. So even if my pick doesn't end up being 1-1, maybe one of those will. So I can pretty much, I can do whatever. I'm down to do explore some other options here possibly. So yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, if you go 3-0, yeah, I mean, I know you built the image, you want all the young dudes. I mean, but 3-0 is 3-0, so.
And he plays me.
Even. Oh, he plays you next week, Paul? Like the week after?
After he plays this week against Chad, he plays me week 4.
Wow.
He could be 4-0.
This could get interesting quick.
No.
Real quick.
We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see. So let's talk about the rest of these matchups as we wrap this up. All right, so we talked about our 3. Let's go to Tita and Chad. Braxton, we can start with you because we started with Paul last time. What do you think?
I think that Tita's got this. I don't think that Chad puts up as many points as he did this week. I think that might have been a little outlier. I do like some of the arms that Chad has, like Mackenzie Gore, and I am a bigger Kyle Miller fan than a lot of people. But I just think that Tita's bats are going to go crazy, and I think he's got a little bit better arms right now. So I think Tita wins, but it's like by 50 to 75 instead of over 100. I think it'll be a little bit close.
Yeah, that makes sense. Paul, what do you think?
Going the other way. I like Chad this week. I think his bats are there to compete with what Tita's got. But I like his arms a lot. I like Dre Jamison a lot. I like Andrew Keeney a lot. He's really hitting his stride. He's got the bats, I think, that can take down Tita. I think Tita's arms, Fujinami had a good game today, or what was it, the other day? Yesterday, whenever it was, against the Mets. But I think he's going to still be struggling as he adjusts. Senga, I think, is the same. I think he'll struggle. Give me the Dodgers this week. I like the upset this week.
Wow, okay. That's, I'm glad that we could have at least one matchup where we get some different opinions. For me, I do like a bunch of the bats on Chad's team. I think it's really funny how Jared Kelenic has been so good so far this season. And, he's had a lot of trouble throughout his career. Struggled with the Mets, struggled early on with Seattle, and now he's starting to put it together. I still think Tita's going to win also because, again, like we say every week, I think this will not be the team that Tita ends up with by this time next week, and it'll probably get better like it has so far. So I'm going to go with Tita, but I think it will be close. I think one of you guys mentioned like a 50-point difference. I could see that. Sean Murphy is him. Yandy Diaz, I like him too. Obviously, I know you were talking about him before, Paul. I think Brandon Nimmo is going to start to really pick it up too. That's another guy I've been looking for on his team. Just monitoring him because I traded him throughout this offseason. And trade it for him, trade him away. So I'll take Tita in this one. But let's head to Cody and Smelly. Oh, poor Smelly. I mean, 2-0, which is, again, I think we can all agree on this one. But Paul, we'll start with you. But I think it's cool that Smelly could potentially start still 2-1. But what do you have to say?
Yeah, it's just, I feel like every week it's just who's attending the funeral of playing Cody. It's Cody's team. It got better by my doing mostly this week. Again, I keep scrolling his lineup, I'm just trying to find one weakness, and it's just not even possible. Because Kirk's a dog, Vlad Guerrero's a dog, Brandon Lau somehow got better once he got with Cody. Austin Riley dog, Bichette's dog. His outfield's solid. He got Grisham back, who's finally back up with the team now. Rotation's really young, really solid. He's got 3 closers instead of just relief pitchers. He's not on here because he's probably celebrating how freaking good his team is.
Green. But Paul, what do you have to think about Smelly's team? Even though I think we probably know how it's going to end up.
Yeah, he's got good players. I like his players. MJ Melendez is really good. Vaughn is really good, I think. Like I said before, Austin Hayes is my guy. His arms are lacking. Miles Michaelis is probably his best one. But he's got good prospects. He's got, half of the draft for the next 2 years. So reinforcements are on the way. But in terms of this week, Hunter, well, I didn't see Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown is definitely his best pitcher. But I like where he's going. He's a guy that makes trades not just to make trades. He's very thoughtful, very precise. When he makes a trade, he usually wins that trade. So I like his overall direction, but it's like I've said, it's a funeral when you have to play Cody.
Yeah, no, I understand everything you said on that one. Braxton, what do you think?
Same boat for me. I like the direction that he's going in, but it's going to be like Cody by 200 this week, if maybe more. That's my opinion.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Only thing I'll say is I think I owned him too. Austin Hayes is a dog, so I'm glad Smelly has him to roll out. But yeah, there's no weaknesses on Cody's team. And the Hot Rod should be 3-0. I'm hoping I'm 3-0 too, so I could potentially still have a tie for first place. But let's head to the next matchup on the dock. It looks like it is Bry versus Scoop. Oh boy, this is someone we just talked about before, especially with the way Bry's team's been playing. But yeah, Braxton, we'll start with you. What do you think? How do you think this one's going to play out?
Bry to the moon, probably by 200. That's my prediction. Bry's gonna have insane levels of pitching and hitting. It's almost like his hitting has been kind of underrated because everyone's just so enamored by the pitching. But I don't think that Scoop gets as many points as he did from Wade Miley and Domingo Germán against me next week against Brian. That's one of the reasons why our game was closer than it was, because Domingo Germán had a very good game and Wade Miley had a quality start and a win. So I think that Bry's got this pretty easily, if I do say. And I think that this is going to be one of the bigger blowouts of the week. No offense to Scoop, but Bry's one of the best teams in the league, and this should be kind of easy. I don't want to sound mean, but I think this is going to be very easy for him.
Yeah, no, I get that. Paul, what do you think?
I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to take Bry to win. I think it's by less than 100 points. And this is why. Here's my bold prediction for this week. Scoop gets 10 starts this week. There's my bold prediction, because he has Logan Webb on a double start this week. He's got Jordan Lyles on a double start this week. Probably 2 of his 3 best pitchers. As long as right now he has them in the lineup to start, both of them. Just keep him there, Scoop. You'll be fine. And he's got a ton of bats, at his disposal. There shouldn't be a day where he has an empty slot. I think he's going to keep up. Probably obviously I think he's in the upper tier of this league. But I think Scoop stays within 100. I think he'll score 600 points this week.
I definitely like that prediction, Paul. And, I really just want to see what Scoop's team is like with a 12-start week. Let's say Logan Webb goes 2 starts. You said Lyles as well. Obviously traded for Ryan Helsley as a reliever. He's got some of these, decent relievers as well. I'll obviously take Bry. I'll say in the middle. Braxton, you said a blowout. Paul, you said kind of somewhat close. I'll kind of just say in the middle. I think Bry will win by at least 100 points, just because, looking at some of these, Ozzie Albies was a guy you talked about before. He was just starting to get, started finding his footing this season. I think he had 19 and 13 this week at 1.2, and he's really starting to wake up offensively. He has 3 homers now, and just so many guys on this team that could just pop off at a moment's notice. And I love seeing what pitchers Bry's going to throw out there. I'm going to be doing that soon. Hopefully Cody does that. Hed's doing that. Interesting to see, though. One thing I want to see is what Alek Manoah is going to be going forward for him, because he's been, pretty rough in some of these starts so far. He had -9. He had a 38 piece. Then he had 4 and then -5. So he obviously has the pitching depth to not play Manoah if he ever didn't want to play him, even though it's a 12-star maximum. But we'll see how that one will play out for Bry's, total scoring. I think we only have one more left, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's just Connor and Homko. So, Paul, we'll start with you. What do you think is going to happen between Connor and Homko?
I think this will be another close matchup. I like both of these teams in different ways. I like Connor's direction. I like where he's going. Maybe not necessarily where he is now, but I really like where he's going. Whereas with Homko, I really like where he is now. I like his bats. He has decent enough pitching to, get wins in this league. I'll take Homko, but I think this is another game where Sunday could still go either way.
Definitely could be that way, and I'm glad that me and Jamie had that first, real Sunday sweat, and I really hope there's some more games that are like that too, just to ramp up the intensity even more, and I hope this one is too. Braxton, what do you think of this one?
Same thing. I think that Connor's going to have the start advantage, though. I think that Connor will have more pitchers go. Right now, it looks like he's got 13 scheduled, and I don't know whether Homko set his lineup or not for the week, but it says 7 for him right now. So if that's the case and that's what's going to happen, I think that Connor's got this. But we'll see. I definitely can see it being close, like Paul was saying, but I'm going to go with Connor.
I definitely could see that too. For me, I really like, just as a manager, what Connor has been doing the last couple weeks with some of these trades. I think some more trades will definitely happen this week for him. He's pretty active on in the deals world, and I think he can maybe add a couple of guys too this week. So I'm going to go with Connor for this one. Kind of with the reason you said too, Bragton. I like Homko's team. I think Gleyber Torres is going to rebound this week compared to this past one. He has Dolan Varsho, Luis Robert. He's got some guys. You got to set that lineup. You got to hit that star limit and try to get to 12 to really try to knock off some of these teams that are hungry for wins and they're trying to rack up some wins. So I'll take Connor in this one. But I think that covers everything. We said Paul, Jamie. Am I missing anyone?
No,
I think you're good. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we wrap things up, do you guys have anything else to say before we enter Week 3 of the Johnny Lee Memorial League for the 2023 season?
Yeah, I just
Braxton or Paul, whoever wants to.
Yeah, this is just going to be a really fun week. Just like last week, I'm enjoying putting together these podcasts for y'all. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on it, and I'm glad we can be entertaining. And thank you guys for another really fun week. This is the best Dynasty Baseball league in the world. I've been trying to tell people that ever since I joined it when I was a lot younger, but I'm really happy with where the league's at and where we're going. Just thank you everybody. So.
And Paul, you got anything else?
I'll just recap real quick some storylines I think for this week. Jamie potentially facing 0-3. What will he do? Braxton potentially facing 3-0. What will he do? I think that's the bigger question, because I could definitely see Braxton, if you win this week, I think you're going to start buying. Other than that, how much will Cody win by this week? I think that's the story every week. Your matchup with Hendog, John Height, that's a big matchup. And will Scoop get his 8 starts in? That'll be a big storyline, I think, too. And how many how many trades is Tita going to make this week? I'll set the over-under at 10.
I'll take the over.
I'm taking
hammering the over.
Hammer the over.
Over. And, I mean, I agree with everything you guys said. I mean, thank you all for tuning in and for the positive feedback. It's a pleasure to do these every week, and I think